Hello. I always like to check my hair in the camera before I get started. I suppose I could do it with a mirror, but here we are. I'm Miss Carla. We are going to continue reading Lety Out Loud by Angela Cervantes. Thanks to Scholastic, again, for allowing me to read this aloud. And this is a nominee for grades 3 through 5 for the Rhode Island Book Month Award for 2020. It's Friday today. How have your weeks been going? Have you been keeping a sort of Monday through Friday schedule like normal and then doing something different on the weekend? I try to do that. Get a lot of my work done during the week and then spend time with my parents or my talking to my friends. Maybe I do some baking or a craft or something. It's good to have a little bit of a schedule to make you feel like you've got your fun time and your work time. It helps me feel more productive. Here's this cute pink cover again. There's Spike, the terrier. We are on page 152. Chapter 22, 1,000 Chances. On Saturday afternoon, the girls gathered at Kennedy's pool. Lety was anxious to see Brisa. She'd talked to her a few times over the phone, but she hadn't seen her friend the entire week, and she missed her. Plus, she couldn't wait to tell her the plan for the Reading Fur Friends project. "Isn't that a fun name?" Kennedy said, slathering her freckled shoulders with sunblock. "Genius, really." Brisa spread her beach towel over the lounge chair and remained quiet. She gazed out over the blue pool in front of them. Her silence was not the reaction Lety had expected. Lety wanted Brisa to like the idea. "Brisa?" Lety said. "And Dr. V was okay with it?" Brisa asked. "He thinks it rocks," Lety answered. "Daisy, too. They think if it goes well, they can make it a permanent program throughout the year. It's good for the animals, and it's good for everyone to practice reading, not just girls like us learning English." "Mrs. Camacho?" "Loves it," Lety said, starting to feel like she had to defend her idea to Brisa. "I emailed her, and she's already making plans to bring you guys on Tuesday." "Tuesday?" Brisa asked. "¿Qué tienes, Brisa?" Lety asked. "Why aren't you hooting for joy or dancing around with excitement like usual?" "Yeah, more hooting, less pouty questions," Kennedy added. "You should be totally happy. You get to see the cats again." Brisa chewed on her lip a bit and then sat up in the chair to face Lety and Kennedy. "I'm worried. Is Hunter going to be around reading too? With his superior reading skills? I don't want to look like a baby reading a baby book in front of him." "You can bring any book you want," Lety said. "We'll also have books at the shelter for you to choose from." "Plus, things have changed with Hunter and Lety," Kennedy said, removing her sunglasses. "They're sweethearts now." Lety's mouth gaped open, and she shook her head. She scrambled to find something to throw at Kennedy, but found nothing, so she dipped the tips of her feet in the pool and splashed Kennedy. Kennedy shrieked and laughed. "Ay, Dios mío!" Brisa gasped. "Hunter?" "We are friends. He apologized for being rude, and he said he thought my animal profiles were better than his." "He admitted that?" Kennedy asked. "Wow, what else did I miss?" Brisa said. "You don't have to miss anything anymore, Brisa. On Tuesday, you can be back with us and practice English while helping all the furry friends." Brisa smiled wide. "As my mom would say, I have tincaso about this new idea of yours." "Tincaso? Is that Spanish?" Kennedy asked. "Not Spanish. It's Quechua," Brisa answered. "My grandma speaks it, and she and my mom use tincaso whenever they have a good gut feeling about something." "So then you like my idea?" Lety pressed, relieved that Brisa was finally on board with the new program. Yes, I like it, and I can't wait to return to the shelter to see all the gatitos again. Yay! I have tincaso about your program too, Kennedy practiced the new word. And I have tincaso that Ilis and the poodle will be adopted soon. Your profile is on point. Big time. Thanks, Lety said. Read it to me, Kennedy, Brisa said. I love that sweet poodle with her little junio nose. Kennedy grabbed her iPhone and read the profile from the website. Best dog profile ever, Brisa gushed. And what about Spike? Kennedy asked. Brisa and Kennedy both looked at Lety. They knew she had loved Spike since the first day at the shelter. Don't you want to adopt him for you and Eddie? Kennedy asked. You guys would be the perfect family. I told Dr. V. You did? What did he say? Lety asked. He smiled real big and said he'd be happy if someone like you were Spike's family. I think he's just waiting for you to say something. Do it! Brisa squealed so loud that it sent a couple of birds on the roof of the pool house darting off into the sky. Okay, we'll see, Lety said. She thought about the profile for Spike that the previous shelter scribe, Gabby, had written. The last line asked for someone to take a chance on him. Lety was willing to give him 1,000 chances. For her, he was still the smartest dog she'd ever met. I'm a little confused about this. You might have seen me turn the page back, because normally when a profile comes up, it fits right in the story. It says, we're going to read the profile, and then we read it. But there was still more of the conversation to read, so I went ahead and read that. So I'll read the profile now. Alice. I'm a 10-year-old poodle named after Celtic nobility. I know sit and stay, and I don't complain when it's time to go to my cozy kennel. My favorite things are chewing on squeaky toys and licking your toes. I get along well with other dogs, but humans are my favorite buddies. I hope you'll see past my graying fur to my youthful spirit. If you give me a chance, I'll be your best friend. Come visit me at Furry Friends Animal Shelter today. Oh, and she used give me a chance, like Gabby did in Spike's profile. That's sweet. Chapter 23 is called Book Buddies. No, Books and Buddies. Sometimes I look at the words a little too fast and I miss some of the words. Books and Buddies. On Tuesday, Hunter's hands were filled with picture books about dinosaurs and sharks. Mario brought his whole collection of Harry Potter paperbacks. Kennedy had a book filled with Irish folk tales to share. This will be just like how I used to read to Gunner, Hunter said to Lety, showing her the books he'd brought. I'm going to start by reading to Finn. I think he'd like this story about a shark who wants to make friends, but all the other fish are scared of him. That sounds good, Lety said. Does he end up making friends? Hunter looked into Lety's brown eyes. It's a total happy ending. And the way he said it made Lety feel like maybe Hunter and she were a happy ending too. 2 weeks ago, she would have never thought they could be friends. But here they were, talking books and working on animal profiles together. Then, right on time, the front door of the shelter swung open and Brisa raced in. Behind her, Mrs. Camacho entered, leading a group of familiar faces that Lety knew. Mrs. Camacho's silver gray hair was pulled back into a chignon, and she wore a t-shirt with a long floral skirt. The t-shirt read, Soy bilingüe. What's your superpower? Brisa quickly embraced Lety like she hadn't seen her in 100 years. I can't believe I'm back. I'm so happy, Brisa exclaimed. I will read to all the cats. Eddie walked in, chatting it up with Gassi and Aziza and a couple of younger boys Lety didn't know yet. He clutched paint swatches in his small hands. His eyes gazed over the room and then stopped when he saw Lety. He smiled and waved the swatches at her. "What colors did you bring?" Lety asked, giving him a kiss on his head. "I brought all the colors. Sunflower smile, dandelion gold, creamy meringue," Eddie said as Lety shuffled through the swatches. "I'm going to read them to the cats. Do you think the cats will like it, Lety?" "Of course. What cat wouldn't want to hear the latest paint colors?" Eddie looked down at his swatches. "Good. That's what I thought too. I also want to read some of your profiles. Can Santiago and me read them, Lety?" "I'll print some out for you." Soon, Dr. Villalobos swaggered into the room, smiling over the mix of English learners and summer campers gathered there. He crossed the room to shake hands with Mrs. Camacho and surprised everyone when he started speaking Spanish to her. Brisa's eyes grew wide. "Dr. Villalobos speaks Spanish too?" she asked Lety. "I had no idea," Lety said, and then she giggled after listening a bit. "What's he saying?" Kennedy asked. "They're talking about the animal profiles and Lety's idea," Brisa said, and then she laughed. "His accent is funny, but his Spanish is good. Right, Lety?" Lety nodded. Dr. Villalobos spotted Lety and waved her over. Lety walked over with Eddie and Brisa. Once there, Mrs. Camacho put an arm around Lety's shoulders. "I'm so proud of you," she said. "Lety's one of our best students. I'm not surprised that she's writing animal profiles and starting new programs." Lety looked up at Mrs. Camacho's light brown eyes and smiled back. "She always has good ideas," Eddie said. "That's because kids who learn new languages are natural problem solvers, Eduardo," Mrs. Camacho said, "just like you." "I know that," Eddie said. Lety patted his head like he was a puppy. "Welcome, everyone." Dr. Villalobos faced the entire group. "Welcome to Furry Friends Animal Shelter." A sudden tingle went up and down Lety's arms, leaving her with goosebumps. Her idea to bring her friends from school and the animals at the shelter together was really happening. Brisa must have sensed her excitement because she gave Lety's hand a squeeze. Soon, the campers and the ELL students were split up into 4 groups. One group, led by Dr. Villalobos and another adult volunteer, went to the Bow Wow Zone to read to the big dogs like Finn and Riley. Hunter waved to Lety as he left with his group. Another group, led by Alma, went to the small dog room. Finally, the last 2 groups followed Daisy into the feline friends room, clutching their books in their hands. Students laid out carpet remnants in front of the cages and opened their books and slowly began reading. Brisa read to Kiwi, who was the last remaining cat of her entire litter. Kennedy read Irish folk tales to a large cat who was 8 years old and showed no signs of finding her forever family. Eddie read paint swatch after paint swatch to a litter of white kittens who reached out their little paws to him and mewed impatiently. Lety gazed over the group reading to the cats, feeling proud when she felt someone's stare. Spike was on the other side of the glass door, looking at her. Lety got up and went outside to where he sat perfectly straight. She shook her head at the idea that anyone would think he was too wild. He wasn't too wild. He was perfect. "You want to hear a story, Spike?" she asked. As if Spike understood and really wanted a story, he wagged his tail and twitched his ears. Lety swooped him up into her arms and pressed her face against his fur. "I'm going to read you a story about this beautiful princess and warrior in ancient Mexico. Would you like that?" Spike yelped excitedly. Lety knew this was dog language for, "Yes, read to me." She grabbed a picture book from the donation box, sat down on a chair in the reception area, and began to read. Let's see. Yeah, we'll do a couple more chapters still. You know the 8-year-old cat that was mentioned in here reminds me of my cat Buddy. He's 10 years old. Well, he's 11 years old now. I adopted him a little over a year ago when he was 10 from my neighbor who couldn't keep him anymore. and we went to the Rhode Island SPCA and transferred his paperwork over to me. And I was really happy that I could take him. I already have 2 other cats, but I had them since they were babies. And he's a lot older than these cats. He's 11, and the other 2 cats are 3 years old. But they get along okay. And he's kind of a grumpy old cat, but he likes being in our family, and I'm really glad I got to adopt him. Chapter 24, Perfect Success. "We're going to be on the news!" Kennedy shrieked. Lety took a deep breath as the news van parked outside the shelter. "Now, don't worry, Lety," Dr. Villalobos said. "They want to hear all about the program. You'll be fine as long as you speak from your heart." At first, Lety had tried to get out of the interview, but Dr. Villalobos wouldn't have it. He said she deserved the credit, but Lety was nervous about speaking on TV. She smoothed down her teal-blue camp shirt. "It's just sometimes when I get nervous, my accent comes out," Lety said to Kennedy and Hunter. "So what?" Hunter said. "I like the way you talk." Brisa rushed out of the cat room toward them with a picture book in her hand. "You'll never believe this, but Solo and Sinclair love books about fishes. So we need more books about sharks, swordfish, manatees, starfish, all the wonders of the ocean." "Maybe we can collect books at the Wags and Whiskers event," Hunter offered. "Good idea," Lety said. "We can ask the reporter today to mention it." The reporter from the local station was a petite brunette with rosy pink lips and cheeks. The campers rushed up to her for an autograph as soon as she arrived, until Dr. Villalobos ushered them away. She and the cameraman set themselves up inside the cat room to take footage of the Reading Fur Friends program in action. At one point, Lorca took an interest in the camera and swiped at it with his paw, which made everyone laugh. After they took their footage of the campers reading to various animals, the reporter talked to Lety and Hunter. "How did you come up with this idea to read to the animals?" the reporter asked Lety. "I had a friend who wanted to volunteer at the shelter, but she also wanted to practice her English at summer school. I thought this program, Reading for Friends, would be a way to do both, improve reading while helping the animals." "And you?" The reporter turned the microphone to Hunter. "What are you reading to the dogs today?" "I have a book here called La Gallinita Roja." Did I say that right, Lety? "Really good," she smiled. It was a book she had known as a child, but she never expected Hunter to have a copy. "Why Spanish?" the reporter asked. "My friends, like Lety, want to practice English, but I think it's important that we all try to learn new languages." "And do the dogs like your Spanish book?" "That's the cool thing. Dogs and cats don't care what language you speak or read. They just want to hear your voice and be close to you. That's all that matters." There you have it. This young lady, Lety Munoz, has really started something wonderful at Furry Friends Animal Shelter, and kids like Hunter Farmer are making it a perfect success. Don't forget the Wags and Whiskers Community Fest event this weekend. Stop by to donate a book, read to a furry friend, and maybe adopt a new member of your family. I'm Amanda Velasco with Channel 5 News. "Good job, you two," she said. "You know, my daughter and I adopted a kitten from here. His name is Secret. Starting tomorrow, I'm going to read to him. You've truly inspired me." As she rushed off to shake hands with Dr. Villalobos and Daisy, Lety grabbed Hunter's book. "Where did you get this?" she asked. My grandma read it. My grandma got it for me. She knows I want to learn Spanish." "Really?" "Sure. This way I can talk to you in Spanish and the other kids at school who speak Spanish. I want to try at least. You think it'll work?" Lety opened the book. Even in Mexico, she had never owned a book in Spanish. Books were too expensive for her family to buy. She gazed over the Spanish words that now seemed so far away, like her home in Tlaquepaque. Hunter watched her. "I've never owned a book in Spanish." "What? That's nuts. You want to borrow it?" Hunter asked. "Or if you want, we can read it together." Lety smiled at him, trying not to blush. The more time she spent with Hunter, the more he surprised her with his kindness. Okay, she said, just as Dr. Villalobos approached them. Fantastic job on the interview. Can I speak to you both in the cat room? Inside the cat room, Daisy held Lorca. We found Gunner, Dr. Villalobos announced, but he said it in such a serious manner that Letty sucked in her breath. The tone of his voice didn't sound like it was total good news. Is she okay? Hunter asked. Yes, she's perfectly fine, Daisy said in that same serious tone that Dr. Villalobos used. Our friend in Wichita shared your picture with all of the animal shelters, and as soon as he did, one of the shelters recognized Gunner, said Daisy. Unfortunately, they reported that a family with 2 boys adopted her a week ago. What? Hunter said. His face flushed ruby red so fast that Letty wanted to reach out and grab his hand, but then he put his hands up over his face in disbelief. Adopted? We're so sorry, Daisy said. Look, Hunter, I've already spoken to the director at the shelter. I explained everything, and he's willing to speak to the family on your behalf. We both believe that if the family knew the situation with Gunner, they'd give her back to you. I think it's worth a try. This made Letty feel better. Surely, if the family knew the truth about how Gunner had been taken from Hunter, they'd understand. Hunter stood quiet behind his hands. It's all my dad's fault, he said. He uncovered his face. Now she's gone forever. That's not true, Dr. Villalobos said. When your grandma comes to pick you up, why don't you bring her and the boys inside? Dr. Villalobos put his hands on Hunter's shoulders. Listen, don't lose hope. We can discuss next steps, okay? Hunter shrugged. Okay. He walked out of the cat room into the reception area and slumped down on a bench. Letty joined him. I'm sorry, Hunter, she said. What are you going to do? I don't know, Hunter said. On one hand, she's my dog. I should get her back. But then I don't want to separate other kids from their new dog. I don't want to be like my dad. Letty stared down at her hands, unsure of what to say. She didn't know his dad, but what she knew of him sounded nothing like Hunter. You deserve to have her back. She's your dog. What if they love her as much as I do? Maybe Gunner is happy with them. It's been almost 3 weeks, going on 4 away from us. That's not long to humans, but for dogs, that's a big chunk of their lives. Hunter gazed out the window just as his grandma's tan car pulled up. My grandma is here. I have to tell her to come in. See you tomorrow? Letty shook her head. Don't give up, Hunter. Thanks. Bye, Letty. Hunter rushed out the door towards his grandma's car. He directed her to park. Letty's mom showed up, too. Letty took her seat in the back with Eddie. As her mom drove away, Hunter waved to her. She opened her notebook and began to write. All right, I think one more chapter, maybe 2. We'll see. Chapter 25, The Man in the Red Hat. The Bow Wow Zone buzzed with the sounds of children reading. Brisa and her classmates were back. I have an idea, Letty, Brisa said, closing a picture book about dinosaurs. You should start adding book recommendations to the animal profiles. Finn and Riley like books about sharks. Good idea. I noticed that Solo likes to be read the newspaper, especially the sports section. She purrs and purrs when I read about soccer, Letty said, pulling her profile for Solo out of her pocket. Let's add it and see what Dr. V thinks. Brisa passed her a pen from her pocket. Letty added a couple of lines. What do you think? She read the profile to Brisa. Solo. I'm a young, caramel brown tabby with a dark M above my forest green eyes. I showed up to the shelter in a cardboard box with my siblings. At the shelter, the staff thinks I won't be here very long because I'm a sweetheart that enjoys curling up on your lap and listening to you read the sports section of the newspaper. Soccer updates make me purr. Visit me at Furry Friends Animal Shelter and take me home. Suddenly, Finn jumped from his bed and started barking at a man wearing a red baseball cap. Brisa and Lety looked up toward the man and realized they had seen him before. No puede ser, Brisa gasped. She leaned in and whispered to Lety, It's the angry man from the store. At first, Lety wasn't sure. His back was to her, but when he turned to face one of the little girls, she knew those blue eyes and strands of brown hair that strayed from under his red baseball hat. He walked by with two girls about Eddie's age and didn't notice Brisa and Lety. Lety stood there trembling and grabbed Brisa's hand for strength. Meanwhile, Finn kept barking. Easy, boy, Hunter said. Who's wearing a hat? Oh, that guy. He glanced at Lety and did a double take. Letty's eyes blazed into the back of the man's head. What's wrong? He asked her. When she didn't answer, he turned back to the man and tapped his shoulder. Hunter explained Finn's hatred for hats. The man laughed, which made Lety angry, but the man took his hat off and Finn settled down. Lety felt a tug at her sleeve. She looked down. One of the man's little girls was pulling on her sleeve and looking up at her with ocean blue eyes. Why are they reading to the dogs? She asked Lety, pointing at Ghazi and Aziza sitting in front of Riley's and Finn's cage with books in their hands. The man turned around and faced Lety. He showed no signs that he recognized her. We started a new program here called Reading for Friends, Lety explained. I like that name, said one of the girls, shoving her purple-rimmed glasses farther up on her freckled face. It helps kids who are learning English, and it helps the dogs to not feel so alone in the cages. I want to do that, squealed one of the girls. Me too, shouted the other girl. Do you want to read to Finn? Brisa added, looking directly at the man. Suddenly, his face twitched with recognition. He made a rapid head turn from Brisa to Lety. There was no denying that he remembered them now. Lety met his gaze. At that moment, everything she and Brisa had talked about telling the man pushed up against her heart and made its way to her mouth. But the words came to a halt at her lips when the little girl with the glasses spoke. I want to read to the dogs, Dad. Can I? No, we're going. He grabbed both girls' hands and rushed them out of the room. Hunter shook his head at the suddenness of the man's departure. What the heck? Did he get a call that his house was on fire or something? Lety and Brisa stood there, shocked. He has daughters, Brisa said. Sweet muñecas. How is it possible that someone like that could have sweet girls? Lety asked. What's going on? Hunter asked. Did you know that guy? Brisa and Lety nodded simultaneously. Unfortunately, Brisa said. Remember that guy I told you about? Lety said. The one who yelled at us to speak English because we were in America? No way, Hunter said. He looked toward the door where the man and his daughters had exited. He can't leave. He needs to apologize right now. Hunter dashed out after the man. Hunter, what are you doing? Lety yelled after him, but he was gone. All right, one more chapter. Chapter 26, We Go High. Actually, maybe I'll save the next chapter for Monday because we're going to finish the book on Monday and we're on page 175. There are 197 pages. So 197 minus 175 is 22. So there's only 22 pages left. That's a good amount for us to read on Monday. So we'll stop here and we'll start on Monday with chapter 26, We Go High. Take a look in the description of this video. I'm going to add the link again for where to go to the Rhode Island Latino Books Month award webpage. And that's where you'll go to vote after you've read 3 books in a grade category. And this is our second book just reading here. We'll probably get to read a third book we'll probably finish a third book even before April's over. So If you stick around, we'll have read through 3 books in the 3 through 5 grade category, and everyone who's watched will get to vote on the website. So look in the description for that. Have a good weekend, everybody. I will see you on Monday.